I'm happy to give the word to the next speaker.
Thank you, dear Professor Pirax, for your nice and really insightful presentation. And now the next speaker will be our Professor of Humanities, Kaspars Kļaviņš.
Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, dear friends from India, namaste, मेरा नाम कस्पर है, मैं लातविया यूनिवर्सिटी प्रोफेसर हूँ, मुझे भारतीय दर्शन और योगा पसंद है, धन्यवाद. My topic is related with or is dedicated to substance or exactly to say a substantial monism. I'm trying in 20 minutes just to tell the main idea regarding analogies. Because first of all, we have to distinguish substance metaphysics with substantial monism. These are two different things. And we have to understand that in India philosophy, there were so many directions and many contradictory directions and even similar directions, but still contradictory. Actually, India is particular in that sense that India we can compare with Europe in a sense, because Indian philosophical tradition is in some ways similar, even Indian logic, and still different. Substantial monism, let us say, means that this is a specific metaphysical position within substance metaphysics. Substance metaphysics is mainly European speciality. It is connected with Christianity. We have God as a substance different from anything else. That is the substance metaphysics. But substantial monism is something a little bit else, although still there are similarities between Europe and India. We can say that what they are the same. No, they are not the same. Substantial monism is particular view, and substantial metaphysics can also allow pluralism. There are substances, different, particular, real, and not even connected. Is a quite a world outlook that was a long time living in European perception. If we are talking about substantial monism, no, there is just one. In fact, substance metaphysics in Indian philosophy, the concept of substance is often called dravya, which really means substance, or that which support qualities. And different schools in India supported that. Jnana and Vaisheshika schools. These schools, please, if you can, just I made some very brief summary. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Just I was trying to summarize. For example, you see many in India is difficult in a sense because it's so rich and so diverse. There is no one Indian philosophy. There are many Indian philosophies and contradictory philosophies. And Jnana and Vaisheshik, these schools explicitly talk about Dravya as a fundamental category. They hold reality consists of individual substances like earth, water, fire, air, and so on and so on. A little bit similar to European perception. Samkhya, that is connected with yoga, postulates two fundamental realities, Purush, or consciousness of self, and Prakriti, matter or nature. Remember René Descartes, mind and matter. Okay, we cannot talk, but there are some similarities, even in that sense, between European and Indian philosophy. And Purush can be seen as a kind of ultimate substance, eternal observer, while Prakriti is the material substance that evolves. Advaita Vedanta takes a different approach, arguing that the only ultimate reality is Brahman, which is pure, unchanging consciousness. The world of individual objects and substances is ultimately Maya, or illusion of appearance. And Buddhism denies the existence of permanent independent substance. I'm not going deeper in Buddhism philosophy, and there are many Buddhist schools, and not talking about Madhyamika or Nagarjuna, or connectedness of all the phenomena, which means emptiness, and emptiness has nothing to do with nothingness in European perception. But if we continue, historically, I was trying to compare a little bit European and Indian perception, because there are similarities indeed. Spinoza, one of the most famous proponents of substantial monism in Europe, argued that only one substance exists, God or nature, Deus sive natura, and that is a little bit similar to Brahman. Actually, we can see similarities of mind despite different regions, different connections, and so on, and still perception is different. Pre-Socratic thinkers like Parmenides already told that in reality there is one unchanging and unified essence, and everything else changing or nothingness is illusion. He's talking 180 degrees the opposite way, but even then we can understand that there is some connectedness in the methodology of mind that we can see in Indian philosophy. Material monism, more common in modern times, everything that exists can be reduced to material substance, physical particles or fields. Types of substantial monism: we have material monism, spiritual monism, neutral monism. Neutral monism is very important because actually not Einstein himself is the author of, let us say, idea of theory of relativity, but Ernst Mach, who is a representative of neutral monism, is actually the author of idea. But I'm not going to deepen in the field. Substantial monism in Indian philosophy. Substantial monism exists in Indian philosophy and manifests in diverse ways across different philosophical schools. While the exact term substantial monism is not explicitly used, the idea that all reality arises from a single essence or principle is widely perceived in traditional Indian philosophy. Vedanta philosophy, especially Advaita Vedanta, non-dualist school, main proponent is Shankara, and Shankara is enormously important philosopher. And let us, next slide if we can. And in many ways, Shankara could be related if Christianity or Christian missionaries would come to India in the 8th century, they would say that Shankara is our colleague in a certain way. However strange that would not seem. Please, next. Yeah, Shankara. Or idea. Everything is Brahman, unified, impersonal, unchanging, formless reality. The world and the individual selves, Atman, are merely appearance or illusion. Atman is Brahman. The self within us is identical to the one reality, and this very pure form of substantial monism, only one reality, Brahman, exists, everything else is manifestation or illusion. In European sense, Master Eckhart would say that the Lord or God is nothing to compare with everything else. He would not talk about illusion, but the intensity of monism would be very, very similar. Samkhya philosophy is actually dualism, but with a very interesting borderline case, Purush, spirit or consciousness, and Prakriti, material substance. In that sense, this school is dualistic, yet since Prakriti is seen as one universal substance from which all material phenomena arise, it can be considered as substantially monistic, in this view to the material world. Kashmir Shaivism, I'm not going to deepen because we have no time, and Buddhism is generally not substantially monistic. It denies any permanent substance, anatta, or non-self, and I'm not going to deepen in the Buddhist schools. Regarding Shankara, even the opponent, the greatest opponent of Shankara, Ramanuja, there are two great, absolutely great Indian thinkers. If we are talking about Kant and Hegel in European tradition, we can talk about Shankara and Ramanuja in Indian tradition. And although they're totally different, the result is similar or almost the same between them, although the discussion is very hard as distinguished. Ramanuja says that he proposed qualified non-dualism. Brahman is the only ultimate reality, but it is personal and with attributes. And the universe and individual souls are real and distinct, but inseparable parts. And substance, Brahman is one substance, but it is qualified unity. Brahman has real qualities and is characterized by unity in diversity. Actually, Indian philosophy is very modern in ancient times. And ancient Indian philosophy we can compare with European philosophy in 18th and 19th centuries, or 17th, 18th and 19th centuries. The problem in cross-cultural communication is chronological, let us say, contradiction. Because some phenomena that arise in one culture, some hundreds of years earlier, same discussion can continue in different culture, in totally different time, totally different conditions, but we have to understand the analogies. If we understand analogies, we already together. There is no problem of communication. The problem is in lack of knowledge about the other culture or the philosophical tradition. And the goal of Ramanuj is union with Brahman through devotion, bhakti, and surrender, realizing the soul's eternal dependence on God, which is very similar to the approach of Martin Luther in Protestants, actually. It's strange, but so sorry. And if we are checking further, I also was trying to compare, please, next slide, if you can. Oh, yeah, this is the final one because I didn't want it to waste your time because I understand in 20 minutes we cannot talk about everything. But what I wanted to talk about the perspectives. What can we do with all of that in present day situation? Substantial monism means that all reality is made of one substance, yeah, as we know. How does this relate with metacognitive model of artificial intelligence? Indeed, Indian philosophy can be very easily used in a present day metacognitive models, and even very easily we can use artificial intelligence to help us to unite them. As you see, for example, in this sense, consciousness function, I was just trying to put together. Consciousness function simulates conscious observation of evaluation of thought. Consciousness is one truly reality, we could say, in Vedanta. Ontological nature, non-self-aware, but can analyze the flow of data. Yes, all existence is one substance, Brahman. It's very easily explicable. Possible unity, structurally self-reflective consciousness, everything, all including artificial intelligence, is a manifestation of Brahman. Differentiating boundaries, lack of existential identity or self-awareness, awakening means realizing oneself in Brahman. So actually, there is absolutely easily for our Asian colleagues to use artificial intelligence and combine with their world perception. I was checking in China dialectics and Taoism, but I'm deeply aware about Indian tradition. And in Indian tradition, we can very, very easily use that in not just in cross-cultural communication, because what we call And I hope that also in our project, and thanks to Professor Piraks, we can create a metacognitive model, and actually artificial intelligence can create it in 4 seconds. But it can be useful in cross-cultural communication for years. And it's free of charge. If we know the culture, if we don't know the culture, we cannot do anything. We are simply helpless. And that is the meaning of cross-cultural communication in our projects. How can we do that? Very easily. Tall flow model maintains internal stream that artificial intelligence is aware and can reflect on. Metacognitive layer monitors, evaluates, and comments on this flow because it is not easily for human being think at the same time think about my thinking. But artificial intelligence can do that in a very, very short distance. And Indian philosophy and yoga and meditation is proposing that as a skill. And there we have yoga and artificial intelligence together again. It's something unique, but everything that is ancient is actually belongs to future. Actually, that kind of project is not even for today, but very, very soon it will be so important. For God's sake, I would say, I'm very worried. And self-correlative mechanism checks and modifies thoughts if they don't meet criteria. And silent receptive mode imitates meditative awareness, observing without reacting immediately. And in that sense, based on traditional philosophy, for example, Indian philosophy, in that sense, we can create programs that are absolutely important and necessary for us today. In a sense, to protect us from unnecessarily stress from other technologies, we can create some kind of protection based on traditional values and connected with very, very future-oriented technologies. So sorry, at the beginning I was thinking I will talk just about history. But since we are living in very different situation, I wanted to talk more about future than the past. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, dear Professor Kļaviņš. So our next speaker will be online.